Hi, I'm Kara Pack, and this is my Module 16 for EDL 850, Internet Use Violations, Threats over the World Wide Web Case Study. Category 1, Problem Identification and Data Analysis. After reading the case study, these are the things that I know. I know that Dr. Smith, the principal, is distinguished amongst his peers. He's respected by staff, students, and parents. He was recognized as Principal of the Year by fellow secondary school principals. Miss Tate is a new teacher. She is on her second year, but she's completed a great deal of schooling. It mentioned that she completed her bachelor and master's degree before interviewing to take a job in the school. Miss Tate has very high expectations for her students and provides rigorous instruction, but that comes with a lot of stress for the students, and that upsets the parents. And her principal, Dr. Smith, has encouraged her to build relationships and improve the culture in her classroom, but that has yet to happen. And Miss Tate came back from a long weekend and found a Facebook page was created to her that talked poorly about her and even involved a threat. What do I still need to know? I need to know, has Miss Tate had any threats made by students before, or any incidents that have happened? And if so, did she document those incidents? Was this Facebook page created using a district device or using the district network? Can the page be traced back to a specific IP address to help find out who created it? What has made Dr. Smith think that this is simply a prank? When she informed her principal of it, his first impression was to just say, oh, it's probably a prank by students. But even if it was that, what are the policies surrounding cyberbullying? Whether it's a prank or not, do the policies become enforced? And should the authorities be notified? So the problem identification is that the students and parents have become extremely frustrated with Miss Tate and her instruction. They find that their students are too stressed out and that her high expectations are all that she focuses on, and she doesn't work on trying to create a positive classroom environment for her students. Despite suggestions from Dr. Stevens, he's given her ways to improve this. Miss Tate is still struggling with building the relationships with her students. Miss Tate came home from a long weekend trip, and a message was sent to her, and she clicked on the link, and it was a Facebook page that talked poorly about her. It contained offensive language and even a threat that said, do you want Miss Tate to disappear? This immediately scared her, and she was fearful. She notified Dr. Stevens, and he plans on investigating to see if they can find out who created the page. Category 2, Plan of Action with Strategies for Implementation. So my plan of action for handling the Facebook page, the first thing is I need to meet with Miss Tate. I need to find out, were there any other incidents that have occurred with students and parents, and if so, did she document those? And I would ask for that documentation as evidence. Originally in her first conversation with Dr. Smith, she said, oh, I think it's that William Hall student. He's always being sneaky and deceitful in my class, but I just haven't been able to prove it. So I would want to know further, why does she suspect William? And does she have any evidence to support this claim? I would also ask how Miss Tate is doing, because she was extremely scared when she first opened up the page, and I would arrange for a substitute teacher if she needed to take some time and if she was feeling unsafe in returning to her classroom. Step 2 is to contact the technology department. I would work with them to see if that page was created using the district device or network, and then also have the technology department work with Facebook to get that page shut down so it's not available for others to see. Step 3, I would talk with other students. I would need to meet with all the students who Miss Tate mentioned in our meeting, and then any other students in the classroom. I would ask if they've seen the page, if they had any involvement in the page, did they hear of others who might have been involved in creating that page, and just try to gather any evidence that I could to help me figure out who created that page. Step 4, I would need to review the policies about cyberbullying that my district has, and I need to make sure that I am sharing these policies with the staff, making sure that I'm up to date with them, the staff is up to date with them, and then encourage my staff to hold class meetings with their students and really have these deep, meaningful conversations about what cyberbullying is, how important it is, what harassment is, as well as the consequences that can come along with that kind of behavior. Step 5, monitor their classrooms. In a high tense situation like this, I want to make sure that my presence is seen all around the school, especially in classrooms, making sure that those teachers feel supported by administration and that the students understand the severity of what's going on. And then I would also need to frequently visit Miss Tate's classroom as she makes her way back into it and help for an easier transition for her and her class. And then step 6 would be follow up with Miss Tate and the students. If the suspect is identified, then the consequences would be handed out as determined by the district policy. And I would also meet with Miss Tate to see how she's doing, how she's feeling, and try to support her through that transition back into the classroom. I would have another plan of action for Miss Tate and her classroom culture. The first one would be to meet with her, and I would want to work with her, and together we would write a plan that has specific strategies that she can use to better create a positive learning culture for her classroom, to build those relationships. And I think she's going to see that that time and that effort that she puts into that will be returned to her in the amount of work that the students give her. I always said you had to make deposits before you could ask for a withdrawal. So she needs to really put time and effort into her students before she's asking them to do the same for her. Step 2 is to set up weekly meetings with Miss Tate. I'd want to talk about, did she implement those strategies that we came up with? What's working well? What's not going so well? What do we need to change? And just work with her along the way. And then step 3 is reevaluate. At the end of the school year, determine, did Miss Tate make the effort to improve her classroom culture? Did she use the strategies that we discussed? Did it make a difference? If she did all of those and her culture has improved, I've noticed a difference, students, parents have noticed a difference, then I would remove the plan for her. But if not, then I would need to discuss with Human Resources about possibly non-renewing her contract for the next school year. Category 3, resolve the issue, making sure that I promote the academic success and personal well-being of all students. So in that plan of action, I was able to resolve the problem while also doing what's best for students. That plan of action allowed for a safe, positive learning environment, and that was shown by creating that plan with Miss Tate for her classroom culture. It also helps teachers feel safe and supported. That meeting with Miss Tate that I had, where I talked about her feelings, offered the substitute if she needed that, following up, monitoring her classroom, making my presence known, helping teachers feel that they had the full support of an administration. That action plan also allowed for policies to be put in place for cyberbullying. When I reviewed the policies myself, shared them with the staff, and then encouraged them to have class meetings and share those policies with their students and the parents. And then also having teachers who take time to build meaningful relationships with them. Giving those suggestions to Miss Tate on how to help build relationships and why she should build those relationships is really what's going to be best for students. Category 4, debriefing the problem. When I was going through this case study, some of the things I was thinking that Miss Tate should have worked on her culture earlier. When Dr. Smith gave her those suggestions earlier, that should have been her time to start making those improvements. I know it's hard and overwhelming as a beginning year teacher, and you want to feel like you're doing everything right, and it's hard to take that adjusting feedback, but I think it really would have served her well. I was also thinking that discussing cyberbullying with staff and students is so essential, especially with as prevalent as technology is with the staff, with students. We need students to understand how serious cyberbullying is. And then also thinking that class meetings need to be implemented in the school so that you can open up those lines of communication. I was feeling empathetic towards Miss Tate when she saw that Facebook page. That had to be very scary and frightful for her. I was also feeling frustrated with the culture in Miss Tate's class. Me personally, I'm a big believer in building relationships and gaining trust with the staff and students. So I was frustrated that she didn't see that as a priority in her class. And then also disappointed in Dr. Smith for just assuming it's a prank and kind of minimizing Miss Tate's fears. I don't think any assumptions should have be made without investigating first. And then I was valuing the importance of good communication, both between parents and teachers and administration. I think good communication is vital. I was also valuing Miss Tate's high standards and rigorous instruction. I think it is very important to have high standards for your students and to set them up to do well in life, but you also have to balance that by taking care of their, social needs as well, emotional needs. And then also valuing that teachers need to feel supported by parents and by administration as well. Some unresolved issues that need further investigating. at the end of the case study, we still need to figure out who created the page. Were we able to determine that with the help of technology and local authorities? And what was their intent when they created that page? Was it a prank, or were they serious about their threat against Miss Tate? Also, can Miss Tate change her classroom culture? She's been encouraged to do so before, and she didn't. Sitting down, writing this plan with her, is it going to give her what she needs to change things and turn things around? If she cannot, maybe would transferring buildings help her, or should non-renewal of contract be considered? And then also, how can the principal help teachers finding that balance between having high expectations and rigorous instruction without frustrating and stressing students to the point where it becomes a negative culture for them? Category 5, reflecting on Standard 5. The first component says, as the educational leader, I need to apply knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting with integrity. And that was done by listening and validating Ms. Tate's fears and providing a substitute if she needed to take some time. It was also proven by being dedicated to finding out the truth of what happened, not making assumptions, and doing my due diligence and investigating on what happened, reviewing and carrying out the consequences that are determined by district policy, and also working with Ms. Tate to develop a plan that would meet the high expectations for a class, but also creating that positive learning environment at the same time. Component 2, as the educational leader, I need to make sure that I apply knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting with fairness. And in my action plan, I acted with fairness by conducting that investigation instead of just jumping to conclusions and automatically accusing William Hall of being the one who creating the page. I also showed fairness by working with the technology department and the local authorities to trace the page to a specific IP address, having that hard concrete evidence instead of just going around he said, she said, going by word of mouth. Having that evidence will go a long way to being fair, and then also making sure that the consequences were handed out based on the district's policy will also show fairness. And the last component, as the educational leader, I apply my knowledge that promotes the success of every student by acting in an ethical manner. This was done by assuring Ms. Tate's safety and allowing her time to feel safe in her classroom again, taking that time and transitioning back into the classroom until she feels safe. Requiring Ms. Tate and all staff to document any communication or issues that arise with students and parents. Any communication or parent contact always needs to be logged and documented, just, for the teacher's benefit as well as the parents. It's always best to have that written down. And then following up with any parent complaints about a teacher and their practices, and allowing both sides to talk is important as the administrator. Thank you.